Sen. Chuck Schumer These reported indictments show that the special counsel's probe is ongoing in a very serious way. The rule of law is paramount in America, and the investigation must be allowed to proceed unimpeded. The president must not, under any circumstances, interfere with the special counsel's work in any way. If he does so, Congress must respond swiftly, unequivocally, and in a bipartisan way to ensure that the investigation continues. Sen. Bernie Sanders. President Trump must not, in any way, try to derail or obstruct this effort. Russia's interference in our recent election and their attack on American democracy is an issue of enormous consequence. Sen. Mark Warner. That is why it is imperative that Congress take action now to protect the independence of the special counsel, wherever or however high his investigation may lead. Members of Congress, Republican and Democrat, must also make clear to the president that issuing pardons to any of his associates or to himself would be unacceptable, and result in immediate, bipartisan action by Congress. Be smart. Things looked bad for Trump after he suddenly fired Comey. They'd likely look even worse if he fired Mueller. And Axios reported on the previous leaks about Trump mulling over the idea of firing Mueller after it was revealed that his probe was focusing on the president's actions. Although the charges against Manafort don't appear to relate to Russian interference in the presidential election, Mueller has been given authority to investigate other allegations that arise from that investigation. What's next? Manafort is likely to plead not guilty, according to former Deputy Secretary for Policy at the Department of Homeland Security, Paul Rosenzweig. Then it will go quiet until Manafort's trial, which would be at least 6 months from now, even with the fastest docketing. Behind the scenes, Manafort's lawyers and Mueller's lawyers will be doing a lot of talking and bargaining, figuring out what Manafort can say and what he's willing to say. This is where Mueller can offer Manafort a sentencing deal in exchange for providing information on the Trump campaign's dealings with Russia. Manafort's fate lies in how much evidence he has and how useful it can be to Mueller's probe. Why now? Lawyers will try to offer information on behalf of their client before an indictment. While little is known, and much is left to speculation, Rosenzweig gave Axios 3 hypothetical reasons for the timing of Manafort's surrender. Manafort's lawyers don't think he has good enough information to get him out of a longer sentence. Manafort might not believe he'll actually have to pay for his actions. There's always the slim chance that Manafort is banking on Trump pardoning him, as the president has already shown an interest in his power to pardon. His involvement in March 2016, Papadopoulos tried to set up a meeting with Russian leadership and the Trump campaign team. He sent an email to the foreign policy team, according to Washington Post, promising a meeting with Russian leadership including Putin. Although some members of the team were skeptical of the proposed meeting, including Paul Manafort, who rejected a May 2016 meeting from Papadopoulos, he tried to set up at least 6 meetings with Russian officials and the Trump team between March and September 2016, per Wash Post. Legal details. Papadopoulos' sentence hearing will be set for a later date, per the special counsel's office. He will face up to 6 months in prison, though the max for this charge could be 5 years and $500 to $9,500 in fines, according to the DOJ plea agreement. Editor's note: sign up for Axios newsletters to get our smart brevity delivered to your inbox every morning. Timeline of Gates' ties to Manafort and the Trump campaign. Roughly 30 years ago, Gates met Manafort when he worked as an intern at the then-powerful lobbying firm Black, Manafort, Stone & Kelly. 2006, Gates joined Manafort's lobbying firm, Davis Manafort, where they took on Oleg Deripaska, a Russian oligarch with close ties to Russian President Vladimir Putin, as a client. Their relationship with Deripaska later crumbled after Deripaska accused Gates and Manafort of taking nearly $19 million intended for investments without declaring what it was being used for, per the Washington Post. 2014, Gates and Manafort helped promote Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych's policies in D.C. Spring 2016, Gates followed Manafort to the Trump campaign, and played an integral role at the RNC, where Gates became the fall guy for Melania Trump's plagiarized speech. August 2016, Manafort quit the campaign amid scrutiny over his financial ties, but Gates stayed on as a liaison to the RNC, before moving to the lobbying group, America First Policies, that was created to advance Trump's agenda. March 2017, Gates' ties to Manafort led to him being forced out of the lobbying group. He's now reportedly working directly for one of Trump's closest and wealthiest friends, Tom Barrack, per NYT. Since linking up with Barrack, Gates has been a frequent White House visitor. But some staff noted that his presence was conspicuous since the president doesn't even like him, per the Daily Beast. Rick just wandered around, a Republican source told the Daily Beast. My understanding is that Trump had no idea he was in the building, otherwise he wouldn't be too happy. What Gates is being charged with. The indictment reveals Manafort and Gates were charged on 12 counts, including money laundering, conspiring against the U.S., and false and misleading statements surrounding their offshore financial accounts. Note that the indictment does not make any reference to Russia's election meddling. What to watch. Rosenzweig suggested that Gates might have more information than Manafort, but emphasized that at the end of the day we don't really know. Go deeper. Read the indictment charges in full. Editor's note: sign up for Axios newsletters to get our smart brevity delivered to your inbox every morning. Following the indictment of Paul Manafort this morning, President Trump weighed in on Twitter. Note: the indictment mentions activities by Manafort from 200,617, not just before he joined the Trump campaign. Most Americans, 67%, believe sexual harassment happens in most or almost all workplaces. If the age group surveyed, women aged 18-49 believed that the most, 78%, compared to men older than 50, who believed that the least, 55%. The partisan divide: Democrats and independents viewed it as more prevalent than Republicans do. 49% of men say recent stories about sexual harassment are making them rethink their behavior around women. Related: AkzoNobel continues the sale process for its specialty chemicals business, with first-round bids expected by year-end. It's unclear how that prospective deal, which has drawn strong private equity interest, will be impacted by last week's collapse of the Clariant-Huntsman Corp. merger due to activist investor opposition. Analyst view from Ingstein de Meester: strategically, the two companies make a good fit and a merger would likely create synergies, especially in terms of buying power. Moreover, an acquisition would make Akzo undigestible for PPG and thus make Axalta the ideal poison pill. However, we see hurdles in terms of valuation, as Axalta shareholders would require a more than fair share of the combined group, reflecting the higher valuation margin Axalta is currently bearing. We would expect a negative share price reaction today because of the execution risk and the reduced PPG optionality. Here's the full list of signatories: Affirmair, BIN, Amalgamated Bank, Amazon.com, American Airlines, Apple, BIN, Jerry's Homemade Choice Hotel, Cisco, Citigroup, Dutch Bank, Glassdoor, Intel, John Hancock, Levi Strauss Co., Linden Research, Lyft, Marriott International, Mass Mutual, Mitchell Gold, Bob Williams, Mungod, Binational, Gay Lesbian, Chamber of Commerce, U.S. PayPal Holdings, Pfizer, Postmates, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Prudential Replacement, Salesforce, SurveyMonkey, Estée Lauder, Campania, Uber Technologies, Wedding Wire, Weebly, Witic Communications. Yelp. As reports emerged in March of Manafort's ties to a Russian billionaire in Putin's inner circle, Spicer was asked repeatedly about what Trump knew and when. He said it was insane to think Trump would be aware of Manafort's consulting activities. What else don't we know? I mean, where he went to school, what grades he got, who he played with in the sandbox. Former White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer, on March 22, after the FBI raided Manafort's home, and it became increasingly clear that he was a central focus of the investigation. Trump was asked in August about Manafort: I know Mr. Manafort. I haven't spoken to him in a long time, but I know him. He was with the campaign, as you know, for a very short period of time, relatively short period of time, he said. Reality check: Manafort was on the campaign for nearly 5 months, 3 of those in a managerial role as campaign chairman. Follow the timeline here. Where things stand: Manafort and Trump reportedly stayed in touch through November's election and beyond, but the president has been advised to sever ties with Manafort and there has been no known contact between them in many months. Expect that fact to feature prominently in White House responses to today's news. Editor's note: sign up for Axios newsletters to get our smart brevity delivered to your inbox every morning.